My mom was pregnant when she was arrested, so I was born in jail and spent, a little more than a month in prison with my mom, and then my mom gave me sort of to my grandparents to raise, and there was also my brother and my cousin, and then so we stayed with my grandparents until my mom was released first, and then my dad.
Γεια σας. Σήμερα θα παρουσιάσω το βιβλίο της Sahar Delijani, «Τα παιδιά της τζακαράντας», που κυκλοφορεί από τις εκδόσεις Παπαδόπουλος. Το μυθιστόρημα εκτυλίσσεται με φόντο την Ιρανική επανάσταση. Και ουσιαστικά αυτό που περιγράφει η συγγραφέας ανατρέχοντας στην ίδια την ιστορία της οικογένειάς της είναι μια επανάσταση ενάντια στο Σάχη, η οποία εγκαθιστά ένα εξίσου ανελεύθερο και καταπιεστικό καθεστώς. Το βιβλίο αυτό ανατρέπει πολλές από τις στερεοτυπικές εικόνες που έχουμε από τα δυτικά μέσα για το Ιράν και τους πολίτες του. Πρόσφατα η συγγραφέας επισκέφθηκε τη χώρα μας για να παρουσιάσει αυτό το πρώτο βιβλίο της. Τη συνάντησα, της πήρα μια συνέντευξη και μπορούμε να την απολαύσουμε αμέσως τώρα.
Well, my book is about people who participated in the revolution of 1979 and who believed in it. They wanted to overthrow the Shah, have a republic, but the Islamic regime wasn't really the answer they wanted to the revolution. They continued to fight, and then they fell victim to the same revolution. And then the children who were born in those years and how those children grow up and want to make their own history. The Iranian revolution has made my life. I don't know any Iran other than the post-revolutionary Iran. But the point that I always like to make about the Iranian revolution is that it was a revolution wanted by the people. It was a people's revolution against the Shah, who was a very ferocious and dictator, and people wanted to overthrow him and have a republic. What happened after the revolution is another story, because in every revolution there's always one political party that is stronger than the other ones, more organized than the other ones, and sort of wins, or sort of takes the revolution. Actually, it's better to say that it takes the revolution from the people and makes it its own. So I think that's what happened. The Iranian revolution, after especially 1983, the government turned into a totalitarian government, a mono-party system that has been ruling the country for the past 30 years. When I was writing this book, I wasn't thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to write a book about strong women in order to change the image of Iranian women. I was just going to write a book about women I know. And women I know are women who made a revolution happen, who fought side by side with men. And in Iran there are two different situations. It's a very repressive regime. There are laws against women. A woman cannot become a president, cannot become a judge, and so on. But women are not submissive at all in Iran. Women have been fighting some of the most important fights, not only for women's rights, but human rights in general, are being done by women. So for me, when I think about Iranian women, I look at it, I see a woman who the law, the government wants to put down, but cannot because she keeps coming up. And so they're very rebellious. They're very rebellious women, and those are the women I knew, and those are the stories I thought should be known to others. I think violence is one way of controlling people. Like usually. Because violence scares you and fear works all the time, and dictatorships are always based on fear, because then you are able to use all the weak points of people And it's always normal and natural that we feel afraid for ourselves, for our family, and so on. So the violence, of course, counts. And one thing I would like to say about the violence, that's why it was so important for me for the 2 prison stories, for the 2 prison chapters, to base them on facts. Because I didn't want to write sort of, I make up something against the regime, or they're so bad, they're so violent. I wanted exactly to know. For example, the fact that I never, for example, my mom said, okay, one thing, I was never tortured. Okay, so that's important to say. It's important to say because then if somebody is tortured, that has to be said as well. So for my mom, for example, or my dad, it was more psychological pressure. So that's why it was important for me to keep the facts and say, this is how the regime works. It's violent, not violent, this is how it is. For me, I mean, it's a completely personal choice, actually. The jacaranda tree is very rare in Iran, and it actually doesn't exist in Tehran because it's a tropical tree. So it exists in Australia, South Africa, and so on. But my grandmother wanted this. I don't know where she had seen it. As she planted it, it did not survive because it couldn't. And for me, it was always very symbolic of the Iranian Revolution. There was so much hope. And there was so much desire and expectation. We wanted, this revolution was supposed to become a beautiful tree with beautiful flowers. And it didn't become what it was. It didn't give people those flowers that they had asked for. So for me, it was those children of the jacaranda tree are in a way the children of the revolution that were born in those years. I see hope exactly because I went back to Iran, for example, 2 years ago, and it was 2 years after the protest, and it was a very, very painful period. But at the same time, you know, the Iranian country is 2/3 my age. They're in their 20s and 30s. And no matter what they do, they cannot take hope away from a 25-year-old and a 30-year-old. And Iranian young generation is very sophisticated, very knowledgeable, very energetic. So I see that, and that just fills me with hope. Alrighty, yeah.
Αυτό ήταν ένα ακόμα GarageBOOKS. Μέχρι το επόμενο επεισόδιο, στο οποίο θα παρουσιάσω μερικές προτάσεις για το καλοκαίρι. Τα λέμε.